welcome to Glisten's Culinary Delights. Today I have a very special surprise for you guys. It's Christmas and I love Christmas. One of my favorite memories growing up is my grandma's cooking at Christmas time. My grandma's actually from Mexico and one of her favorite things to cook at Christmas time was pozole. Some of you guys know what that is, but it's basically a Mexican type of soup that we have during the holidays, New Year's, birthday, special celebrations. And so these are the ingredients right here that you're going to use to put your pozole soup together. And then later I'll show you how to put your bowl together once it's all ready and done. All right, the first step for our pozole is we're going to get those chilies. I have already washed these, so you're going to want to make sure to wash them. I have 3 Passilla chilies, and then I have 3 New Mexico chilies. You can also use Guajillo chilies or whatever kind of dry chili that you can find in your grocery store. The thing you're going to do is you're going to cut off the tops of those chilies. Cut off the tops of those chilies. Cut off the tops of those chilies. And you're gonna have seeds like come out all over the place. So it's good to do this like by your sink because then you can just get rid of all those seeds. But the main purpose for this is we're going to cut the top open and then we're going to take the seeds out. So I got those chilies topped. I'm gonna take these over to my sink and I'm gonna clean out all the seeds. You wanna remove all the seeds and then also the veins from the inside of the chili. So I'll do that now. This is what the chilies look like after you take them, all the seeds out of the chilies. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in about 4 cups of boiling water that I have boiling behind me. And I'm gonna let those boil for about 20 minutes. And while I'm letting those boil, then we'll do some other parts of this recipe. All right, so next part of the recipe is the pork. Now there's a big debate about what type of pork that you should use for pozole. There's 2 types that you can use. It's either the pork shoulder, which is what I have here, or you can use a pork butt. And I'll show you a picture of where they both come from and what they both look like. But basically the difference between the pork shoulder and the pork butt is fat content. For a soup, you don't want so much fat content because you're just going to get that slimy greasiness at the top of your soup, so it's not so good. So that's why the pork shoulder is important. But if you like pork butts and you cannot lie, go with the pork butt. All right, so I'm going to slice this up into about 1-inch cubes, and then we're going to brown that meat. With this pork shoulder, I'm going to try and cut out as much fat as I can. The meat does have marbling inside the meat, which will help, but we don't want all these big fat chunks inside your soup. So the pork shoulder has a big fat cap, you'll see. So we're just going to cut off as much of that fat cap as you can. So we're just trying to get this meat down, all the meat off of this bone. You're gonna want cube sizes about that big. So there you have it. We have our bowl cut with cut meat. I'm going to season this meat up. I just had this little piece of bone left over after cutting all that meat. So a lot of people like to put that bone in with their soup, and then you can give the bone to your dog or cut off the rest of the meat into your soup as well. So if you want to use that in your soup, then you can. I'm not going to put it in mine though. Next step, I'm going to season this meat and then we're going to brown it in a pan. All right, I'm going to season this meat. I have some salt, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. I'm going to season it liberally so you can get all the seasonings all over all the pieces of meat. And you're going to want to mix that up. All right, so we're good to go with this meat. I'm just going to stick the meat in this pot that I have right here. I've put some olive oil in the pot and we're just going to brown the meat on all sides and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm just gonna stick the pieces of meat in there. You want it to be sizzling. You're not going to want to overcrowd your meat. So if you see how I have it, if you overcrowd it, then all the juices are going to come out of it. And it's basically going to be like you're boiling your meat when you want it to be brown. Alright, with this last little bit of meat, for the last minute, I'm going to add 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Alright guys, it's already smelling super amazing. Here is what the pork looks like when it's all nice and brown. If you notice at the end, I added 4 cloves of garlic that were chopped up just for the last minute of the cooking. You're going to have to add them in batches, like I said before, but it already smells good. We have one more step, and then we're going to put it all in the pot and let it cook for about 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so I have those chilies that we had on the stove cooking for that 20 minutes. They've just been sitting in this liquid while I've been browning the meat. Well, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the chilies and about half of the liquid that you have in this pan. I'm going to stick it in our blender along with 4 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to blend that until nice and smooth. Here we go. Let's do the liquid first. Then I'll start putting those chilies in there. All right, and then those garlic cloves. Stick on our lid. I'm trying to get as much flavor from the chilies that we can, and so I'm going to put just a little bit more water in there and just let it mix up one more time. Make sure every little piece is blended up. All right, so now you're going to set this aside. You are going to need a fine mesh sieve, so if you have one of those, you can get it out now. Next, I'm going to put it all together and show you what that looks like. All right, here's the most exciting part. We're going to combine everything into the one pot. And you use the same pot that you browned the meat in. It's gonna have like black stuff down at the bottom, brown bits on the bottom, and that's okay because you're just gonna scrape that into your pozole once you have everything in there, including the water. So first I'll add our meat with our garlic. One can of hominy. In the hominy, you're going to want to take all the juices out and then rinse it off. We're going to put 3 bay leaves in here. 3. Okay, half a teaspoon of cumin. And then 2 tablespoons of oregano, and I'll show you with the oregano. Spoons. Okay, with the oregano, before I stick it in here, I'm going to pour it into my hand, and I'm going to crush it a little as it's going in. So that was 1 tablespoon. Here's 2. And then last, I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is that mixture that we made, I'm going to strain it with a strainer into our mix. All right, so I have our strainer and I have our chili mix. I'm just going to pour that in the strainer, and then you're going to stir it around to try to get it through that strainer. You're gonna have some thick chunks in here, so it's gonna take quite a bit of stirring to get all of the chili liquid out with all the extra little skins and stuff from the chilies. You don't want that in here. So this is what it's gonna look like once you got all the liquid out. It's just gonna be like a thick paste in your strainer. All right, and last but not least, you're going to get 2 quarts of hot water and you're gonna pour it into your mixture. Stir your mixture. You want everything to combine. You can scrape the bottom just a little bit because you're gonna have those brown bits that are on the bottom from your cooking your meat. Those will just add flavor to your pozole. All right, so that's it for the mix. What you're going to do is you're gonna put a lid on it and you're gonna let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours. I like to check it every hour just to check how the meat's doing. You want the meat to be tender, so that way you can pull it apart when it's ready. So we'll start cooking it, and then I'll check in with you in about an hour and a half, and we'll check in to see how it looks. All right, guys, this is about done. This is what it's gonna look like. Pick some chunks so you can see it. If you have a layer of fat on top that you want to remove, a good way to do that is just get a paper towel and lay it on the top until that fat layer is gone. You don't want to lose all the juice, so just make sure that you're not overdoing it. All right, so to check to see if it's completely done, you're going to get a piece of the pork and you're just gonna use your fork and kind of separate the meat to see if it shreds, and if it easily pulls apart, then you know it's ready. This is smelling super amazing, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna plate it up in my bowl, and then we have a few different toppings here. So what I have here is I have some crispy tortilla strips, I have cabbage and red radish, cilantro onion, I have some avocado, lime, and my favorite, tapatio. And then there's also some fresh tortillas that you can dip in the juice, which is really awesome. So I'm just gonna plate a bowl up right now. All right, I'm just gonna show you the tender pork. It's just coming apart. It's so soft, so good. All right, so I'm just gonna add a few toppings to my pozole. I like a little bit of cabbage, cilantro, crispy tortilla chips, squeeze of lime, piece of avocado, a few pieces, and then my favorite, a little bit of tapatio. All right, so time to try it and see what it tastes like. That is so good. Delicioso. That reminds me of my grandma so much. It just tastes, oh my gosh, I can't even describe it. You guys need to make this recipe. It is so good. Grandma would be proud. If you want to make this recipe yourself, I'll put all the ingredients down in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check that little bell for notifications of our next video. Thank you so much.